Hi guys, and welcome to another RC Plane Guy video. So in this video, if you can't guess already, we're going to be looking at my Eurosport, and basically what we're going to be looking to do is make a few little changes to the model. So from flying it last year, I loved it, was very happy with it. I had some trouble right at the back end of the last year where taking off on grass, it hit a bump and damaged the nose gear. So I always wanted to upgrade the gear, so this has kind of given me a bit of a helping hand and an excuse to get on with that. So what we're going to be doing is changing over to Electrons and also making a few little changes along the way. So yeah, let's dig into it. So taking a closer look. So we're going to change a few things. So this is the setup that I installed last year prior to me flying this for the first time. So I completely redid the install of this model, made this tray and put all my equipment on there. And I was quite happy with it, but I wasn't a massive fan of the air system. For some reason I just don't really get on with it. So I was always going to switch to electric gear. And at the back end of last year, when I was taking off from a grass runway, the model went over a bit of a bump, and as a result of that, it kind of damaged the nose mount and ripped the nose retract out. Thankfully, didn't do too much more damage than that, just filled the model full of grass and mud all going into the intakes under there. So that was a bit of a mission to empty all that out. I'll twist it over and show you the underside of what the damage looks like that we need to get repaired, and then we can move on to installing the electric gear. So for the electric gear, I've gone for the mighty Electrons. So these are the first time I've actually bought Electrons, and very impressed with them. It's like modeller's jewellery. They are really nice, beefy units. So it's a 3-leg unit, so you've got obviously the nose leg and the 2 mains. So they come with everything that you need basically. So you have like a retract gear controller that you plug everything in for your brakes, your rudder, servo, brake, steering, gear, and that all goes to your receiver or whatever system you're using. So in my case, it will go into the power box. You obviously plug a battery in to power it. So these are the main gears, and then 2 of the legs there, and the wires and stuff to connect them up. Another one of the main legs, and then we've also got the nose leg. So yeah, this is a nice solid unit with the nose wheel there, and you got the steering unit there. So that's a little different to normal. So for example, the old leg that came off it, so this was the air system that was on it before it ripped it out. So as you'll see on here, the steering unit is actually on the leg itself, so it retracts with the leg. Whereas you'll notice on here, it's not actually on the leg, it's on the back of the unit and stays fixed in place. So what that actually allows is when your steering servo is kind of, say, back here, as it will be in the model, and the wires actually trail down the side of the leg onto here. So that, and the Electrons, you can set the center point for when the leg retracts, so that it will exactly center it in the middle and just go straight between the wires. So there's never really any worry of like the nose coming in sideways on and getting stuck on the wiring, and it keeps keeps it all in place and nice and tidy without any risk of the wires getting caught or stuck or anything like that during the retract process. So what I've also decided to do is install some mini servos in the gear doors. So currently they work on an air system, so you'll see in there, and I'm going to basically convert those to electric servo operated. So the power box unit that I've got inside has a gear sequencing function. So I'm going to redo the layouts of my paddle box install and reprogram it to accept gear door sequencing, and of course plug it into the retract controller. So bit of programming and rewiring there, but nothing too major. And then some little bits here. So as part of the nose leg redo, because of the way of the different gear coupling, it actually sits a little odd inside the nose opening. So rather than as currently, it's probably best to show you here. Currently the nose gear door is split into two parts. So that bit was attached to the nose leg and retracted with the nose, and then that bit was a side door that opened and closed in sequence with the retract opening and closing. Whereas what I'm actually now going to do is make one continuous long door that opens sideways on one servo, which is actually more scale anyway, because that's what they do on the full size, and that's mainly due to the way that the gear retracts. If I did it kept that way, it would be hitting this and getting in the way, and I think just the way that this gear setup is laid out is slightly different to this, so it just needs a little bit of reworking. But I'm happy to do the rework, and I think the result of it will probably be a little better and smoother anyway. This is the material I'm going to use to make the gear door, so it's just some thin sheet of epoxy glass sheet, or otherwise known as G4, and just gonna make a new door out of that, trace around it, cut it out and paint it, and get it all installed with hinges and hooked up to an electric servo. The other change I'm going to make is swapping the way that the electronics hook up to the wings. So currently, obviously, we have only two servos in the wing for the ailerons, elevons, whatever you want to call them, and then we also obviously have an air system, but because the air system's coming out and being replaced with electric, we're going to have a few extra wires and connections going on both sides. So what I've actually decided to do is try for the first time a different style of connector. So this is made by Hacker. There's so many different ones out there. I did a bit of research and looking into them. There was a few options to try. Very nearly went for something else, but in the end I've decided to give these a go. And basically what you do is crimp your wires and connect them up, and this comes away in two pieces. So you'd have that side, say, on the wing. You can either have it loose, or you've got the ability to actually fix it in place and screw it in to the fuzz and have it connected in place. But I'm not sure whether that'll work or not because of the way that is, so we'll have to have a see. It'll probably just be kept loose. But yeah, ultimately your wires will go straight into the pins on the back there, so you just cut that off and re-crimp it with the connectors that come with the plug, and they go into the back of there. And then vice versa on the other end as well, you plug that into the wing side, and then basically you just clip them straight in as a one click. And it's a real nice strong fitting click that you have to press in from both sides to release it. So it does feel really robust and secure. I must admit, they're not the cheapest of connectors, but I think in the long term they all kind of reasonably work out at a similar kind of cost. It just depends on the style that you want to how you want to connect them. Obviously this you can get them in different sizes as well, so this is for 12 pins, so depending on how many connections you want to go for and the style of plug you want. Obviously we're going to have 3, 6, and then we're going to have 2 more for the retract and 2 more for the brake on each side. So altogether you're looking at 10 kind of pins that we need, which leaves an extra couple spare that, who knows, in the future I might add some lights or something into the wing, so it keeps an extra couple of power lead plugs spare that I could add at a later date. Now with the model turned over, this is the underside, so just to kind of show you the damage area of the retract being ripped out. So this is the mount that the previous retract was on. So as you can see, it's just kind of broke away the very end of the mount on both sides, so just kind of damaged the fixing of how it sits on there. So this kind of, these markings that I've drew round are roughly where I'm kind of proposing to cut away at the material to fit the new retract unit. So if I just grab the new unit, what I plan to do is essentially sit that on there. So I'll cut this away, so if you imagine this is not there, and then I'm going to kind of high sole some new material underneath there and get a really kind of wide fixing, because the wood goes all the way in, so I'll get a nice big bit of ply to get plenty of bonding to the existing material, and high sol it in there so that it's nice and secure. And then basically that will allow this to sit just that little bit lower, because as it sits currently, it's just ever so slightly sticking out. You can't really tell from this angle, but the gear door wouldn't quite close as it is, because that unit actually just sticks up a little bit. But what will happen if I once I've cut this bit of material away, just that little bit of drop, how it will sit, maybe something like that, just allows it to slip past the top and be out of the way of the gear door. So once that's in place, then you can see there's plenty of room for the door to maneuver, plenty of room for the steering arm to move about, and hopefully should all work quite nicely. Not really sure how else I could do it and making this this unit work. I know I could probably make do and with the existing leg, or go for a different type of arm on the nose unit. You can actually get kind of the more standard arm setup as there is on that one, and have it in the arm unit here, but I do prefer the setup of this. So if I can make it work, that's the plan. So yeah, I'm going to be redoing that arm. This is just kind of a little access hatch for where the current air system was set up to open and close the gear door on the side. So I'll be looking to mount a little servo in there, which will then power the opening of a full side door up and over from the side. And I believe that's it in terms of jobs to do. As I say, I've given the turbine a good clear out and ran it up, so that's all ready to go again now. Made sure the turbine was okay. So yeah, just time to get on with it now, really. Before getting all the retracts installed and spending time getting them all in place, I thought obviously it makes sense to test they all work okay, since I haven't tested them or done anything with them since I've bought them. So obviously we need to make sure that everything's working as it should. So I've just done a bit of a mock-up of the system. So the 2 retracts units and the brakes and the nose leg all connected up, and all the wiring going into the unit and then into the power box. It's a little bit techie. I've been playing around with both reading the Electron manual, the Powerbox manual, and also settings in my radio, mainly because I've already set this model up once in my Powerbox, so I already have all my outputs mapped in the Powerbox, so to then change that now, because I'm going to be adding servos for the gear doors, etc. I'm following the Powerbox Mercury's gear door sequencing setup process, which automatically assigns outputs as part of that process, which has meant I've then had to readjust some of my existing outputs in the Mercury to allow the Electron system to work through its own box. So a little bit of fiddling around, but I think we've got there now. I didn't really record much of it because, to be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing myself, so there's no point teaching everyone else what to do when I don't know it either. But we got there in the end, and I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing now. So if you guys would like to see a video on kind of running through the setup process of this, let me know in the comments and we can do another little video on that. I haven't gone any further with the gear sequencing in the Powerbox just yet, because it requires the gear system to be working. So in the Powerbox gear sequencing menu, you have to go through sequences of setting the gear down position, the gear up position, opening and closing the doors and things like that, which I can't yet do because I haven't yet soldered the battery lead. So there's one lead remaining there, which is for the battery, which powers the Electron unit. So the unit for the Electrons gets power from the receiver and the power box. So we've got a few plugs in here, so as you can see on the box there, you've got inputs. It's a bit blurry, but we've got rudder servo in the top, so that is basically your nose steering. So this lead is going to the nose steering that's in place, and then we've got 3 more inputs there for brake steering, which is then the input into the receiver from your nose steering essentially, and then the gear. So those 3 lines go into the power box. That one's to your nose steering servo, and then the 3 along the side here are your gear. So you've got nose, main and left, and then you've also got the brakes at the back there, all plugged in. So yeah, the only last one left to do is the battery. So it does provide a XT30 size plug, so I just need to make up a lead. I've got some power wire, and then I just need to decide whether I'm going with Dean's or XT60 to suit whichever LiPo I'm going to use. And yeah, and then we can finish off the setup of that. So we do get some power to the Electron box without going through with any battery install. So you can set up the Electron controller to recognise all the inputs. So this button here that's flashing is actually like the control function for it. So you can press that to cycle through the setup function. So to engage it into the setup function mode, you press and hold that whilst you turn on the model, and that starts flashing a singular blue light, and then you go through the stages. So I think the first one is that you set the gear down position, you press that, it flashes twice. Then you set the gear up position, press it again, flashes 3 times, and then so on. You go through the brakes minimum, brakes maximum, and then you also set the nose steering servo in the center position, which keeps the servo centered for when the retract's opening and closing, so it's always dead center and not any risk of moving about. Once that's done, you then finish the setup process and it comes back to this, which it's flashing red because it's recognised that there's no battery connected. So if it's flashing red like that, that means you've either got a problem with your battery or the battery isn't connected, which obviously is a handy reminder sometimes. I know people, when they're in a rush to fly, it's quite easy to remember not to plug your Retract battery in, but obviously it's a crucial thing to remember, so it's a handy visual aid just to give you a little tip that it might not be connected. Obviously we've got the power box menu all there, which we can cycle through using the switch buttons, which we've already kind of done the basic setup. Once I've got the soldered lead and battery all connected up, we'll then go through the power box menu to finish off the gear sequencing setup menu. Now ready to make up the battery lead, so we've just got together kind of the usual bits that you need for soldering. So obviously we've got the two connectors. I've decided to go for Dean's on this occasion because I've got a couple of small batteries ideal for Retracts, which are Dean's connections, and I also use those batteries in another model that's got a Dean's connection. So my preferred choice is XD60, but I'm being lazy and can't be bothered to change all of those over to XD60 just yet, so that's a job for the future. But for now, I'm going to stick a Dean's on. So I've trapped it there in my holder. We've also got the XT30 connector, which is the one that goes into the Electron retract unit, and some power cable. Couple of little bits of heat shrink chopped off that will go over the wire just to kind of shield the connections. This is a tool I got from Aldi, where I get most of my bits, and that just kind of helps rip off the end of the tubing ready for soldering. And then as mentioned in a previous video, if you saw that, this is my fast acting USB powered chargeable soldering iron, also from Aldi, and it heats up to 480 degrees in just a few seconds. So you take it out of the mount and basically you touch that pressure pad and it heats up, and as soon as you let go it cools down, and yeah, it's just pretty much instant. So it's a very handy soldering iron to have, just your small jobs like soldering battery connections and that sort of thing. So yeah, let's get on with it. And that's the end product. So we've got the Dean's connector on one end, the XT30 on the other, all soldered up and heat shrinked. So yeah, I'm not a massive lover of soldering. I probably do it a bit long-winded, but I get the job done in the end one way or another, and I haven't had a connection fail yet to my knowledge anyway. So yeah, let's get this installed. Okay, so now the battery lead's all soldered up and installed. I've plugged it into the connection there on the end for the battery connection in the Electron unit, and then hooked it up to my battery that has the Dean's connector. So everything's all plugged in now, and yeah, let's just turn it on and see what happens. So we'll turn on the transmitter. Everything's all mocked up there on the floor, and select the right model. Okay, so then if we turn the power box on, okay, So then we'll go ahead and flick the gear switch and see what happens. So yeah, let's give it a flick. Entering door sequence mode. Great, and that's what we want to see. So looking at the units, obviously all three have moved up and into the correct position. We can also test the brakes work by flicking them on. So yeah, solid, they're definitely working. You can hear the very slight noise of them engaging. So yeah, that's all working. So the gear sequencer, I just need to set up the servos that will be used for the gear doors, plug them into the power box. So we've got some spare spaces on the bottom row which are reserved by the gear door sequencer to operate those. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to go. What I think I'll actually do is get all of the servos and plug them in now, so that we can finish setting up the gear door sequencer to make sure that they move in time with the gear. So what we don't want is obviously them binding and hitting each other when setting it all up. So doing it first outside of the model helps prevent any chance of damage. And then in theory, once we've got them all installed, it should just be a case of flicking the switch and it all works perfectly in sync, ready to go. So yeah, demonstrating it again. Flicking the gear switch, it will start the sequencer, so it will be opening doors. Gear shuts, and then the doors would close behind them. So yeah, all looks great so far. Just the servos to sort next. Back onto the programming, I've just been playing around again with the gear door servos, adding them into the mix. So we've got a mock-up of the servos there. So we've got the right and left main gear servos, the nose gear servo, along with all the retracts. So I've gone through the gear sequencer setup menu in the power box, which has taken me through plugging the servos in and setting their positions already. So we're currently in the gear down position. So in that position, all three retract units are down. The nose gear door is open, and the two main gear doors are shut. So what we want to see happening when we flick the gear switch is the main gear door servos opening to allow the all doors to be opened, because this one should already be open. Then the gear retracts, and then all three servos shut again. So let's give that a try. So you can see they're moving. That one didn't. They then retract, and then all three servos should be moving. 1, 2, and 3 as well. So yeah, that's all looking good. So they're all gear is up and all doors are shut. So then cycling again to come gear down, all three servos should move down to open the doors. Retracts should open. The nose door servo should stay shut, and the two mains should open. So all the servos have moved. Gear retracts. This one stays shut, and these ones are moving. So yeah, all looking great and all set up and sequenced correctly. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It's now time to move on to the messing about with getting all the bits installed, really. Now the programming side of it is complete. Jumping on along a bit further now, so things are starting to get a bit more messy. So as you can see from the massive pile of airlines over there, all the air system is now removed. So that took me some time and effort, untangling all the massive wires from all through the fuzz, removing all the air system for the brakes, the wheels, the gear doors, and all the tanks, servos, sequencer, everything that went with that. So quite a few things going on there, but the result is it's a lot more nicer inside now. So I've looking at moving the power box down onto the bottom there to give some more room on the top shelf that I've made, and I'll adjust this, so I'll probably cut that off because we don't need the air system parts anymore. And then I'm looking at repositioning this to mount the Electron unit. I want this a bit more easy access because there's a button there that you can use for kind of manually retracting them, and also potentially mounting the retract battery on there as well for easy access. But we'll have a look how the CG kind of comes out and where to mount that. With the power box, I've gone through all the wires and labelled them all up to be a lot more nicer. So I know exactly which output they relate to if needed. And yeah, just generally a lot more tidier. I mean, it still doesn't particularly look tidy in there, but a lot of that is hidden from view, so it doesn't necessarily need to be that tidy, but it's 10 times better than what it was, I can assure you, with all of that lot in there. So yeah, we're coming along nicely. So next steps is just kind of working out how to get the wires through the fuzz. So we've got the power lines that need to go down the fuzz and be installed for the retracts and the brakes. So as I mentioned before, they'll be coming down the side here and linking up with the wing servos through here, and I'm going to be converting those into these click and connect type multi-pin connectors. So yeah, that's kind of the next stage we're at. So I think that brings us pretty much to a good place to stop there for episode 1 in this short Eurosport series. So I hope you've liked what we've covered in the first little episode there, and make sure to stay tuned for episode 2, where we'll be continuing with the progress. And yeah, as always, great to hear your comments and anything in there that you'd like to say, any suggestions or room for improvements, because if you haven't noticed, I'm by no means an expert in most of these things in the hobby, so advice is always welcome. I just like sharing my own experiences. But yeah, so make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button to stay tuned and for any upcoming notifications of videos as they go live, to be the first to watch them. So yeah, great. See you next time. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date on all the latest videos. And don't forget, it's free, so you have no excuse. Make sure to drop a comment in the video or drop me a message to let me know if you'd like to see anything else in my videos. And if you haven't already, follow the link tree either in my profile or usually in the description of the video, that will take you to an online portal to access any of my other social media channels. I post a lot on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it may be that you're on, I'm on it. So go on and follow it. As quite often my content varies from platform to platform. I don't often post the same stuff, so be sure to follow in them all. If you're on Facebook, be sure to check out the brand new RC Plane Guy Community Facebook group, which is a whole new space I've created primarily for you as the viewers, and to be able to interact with each other, comment, post your own photos and videos, share that experience and knowledge that's out there. I know there's so many different aspects of the hobby out there, and it's great to see everyone enjoying it and showcasing it for yourselves. So make sure you join the group and post some content, because it's great to see, and I really want to build that into a great place